In Minnesota, more than 95% of inmates are released once their sentence is complete. We introduce you to an organization that helps ex-inmates reshape their lives in order to make a successful transition from prison back to the community. We'll take a deeper look into how this organization got started and meet a man who says this nonprofit changed his life. I'm Rena Kamal. Our Issues Twin Cities starts now. An organization to help volunteers of the community connect with inmates first started in 1967. It was the relationship between a judge and an ex-inmate that paved the way for this powerful nonprofit, Amicus.
Amicus got started in the late 60s by two gentlemen, one that did time and another one that befriended him while he was in prison. Ted Herman was a lawyer in the Twin Cities area who committed a crime, was convicted of that crime and sentenced to the Department of Corrections, and ultimately ended up in Stillwater State Correctional Facility in Stillwater. When he got incarcerated, he lost his connection to community. His friends, his colleagues disowned him, so he had no connection to community. An article had been written about Ted and his experience, and in that article they talked about his disconnect to community. Neil Riley, who was a lawyer at that time as well, read that article and thought that was silly. He's doing his time, he's serving his sentence. I'll go visit Ted. I'll make a connection for Ted. Ultimately got on Ted's visiting list and they formed a relationship. Neil visited Ted with regularity. They noticed a couple of things through those visits, that Ted's story of disconnect was not uncommon. It was very common for men and women that are incarcerated to lose their connection to community. But they also noticed that they were two men of means. Ted was going to come back to community, and unlike many of the men that he was incarcerated with, he was coming back to some stability. He still had a home, he was well educated. He might not practice law again, but he was probably going to be very employable. And they were two men of means, so they discussed what can we do? How can we impact this community? What can we do for men and women that are still incarcerated, and then help them or assist them in their transition back to community. And ultimately through that conversation, they discovered Amicus, or came up with Amicus. Amicus is Latin for friend. It's based in their friendship. And it's also a court document, and Amicus is a court document. And so they discovered great power in their relationship, and that Ted recognized that if not for Neil, a big part of his transition would have been a lot more difficult, but he had Neil. And so in 1967, they started Amicus.
What is the ultimate goal and mission of Amicus?
Amicus partners with offenders, ex-offenders, at-risk youth, and communities to build what we call successful lives and stronger communities. If we work together, if we afford opportunity, if we empower people, and we give them the tools they need in their transition to come back to community, they are ultimately going to be more successful, which in turn is good for community. It's difficult when people come back to community, go back to prison, come back to community, and go back to community. Our goal is to empower people to be able to be successful once they come back to community. Our flagship program is called One-to-One, and that's modeled or based after Ted and Neil's relationship. That's been around since 1967, and in the course of more than 45 years, we've matched men and women in the community with men and women that are incarcerated in one of the state correctional facilities for a year-long relationship. They often last, when they're a good relationship, they last many, many years. We've had them last as many as 30 years. And so that program, we probably match, maybe 60 or 70 active matches a year through that. We have somewhere around 100, 150 active matches, both in the prison system and out in community somewhere. In addition to One-to-One, we offer a program called Reconnect. Reconnect's a program where men and women who have made that reentry, have come back to community already, are in need of resources. A couple of the biggies are housing and employment. So where can they go to get assistance with identifying housing, getting a job? Well, they can come down to our office Monday through Friday and sit down with a counselor and get assistance in that search for housing and employment.
Amicus offers many different programs for ex-inmates to make a smooth transition from prison back to the real world.
I lead and support the Amicus youth programs, which consist of two specific programs. One is the MAP project, which works with young people in Ramsey County Juvenile Justice. And then our second program is the Amicus Radius program for girls, which works in Hennepin County.
Tell me a little bit more about the MAP project.
The MAP project is a project where we are working in partnership with the University of Minnesota under a federally funded grant that was issued to us and only 2 other states to work specifically with young people in detention who also have special education needs. So I have a team of mentors who meet young people while they're at Boys Totem Town or the Juvenile Detention Center in downtown St. Paul, and they develop a relationship with them. And if the young person and their family chooses, then they sign on to the MAP project, and for 2 years a mentor will support them and guide them and advise them towards school success. So helping them get school supplies, helping them with tutoring, helping them find other needed resources or referrals needed for them and their family so they can remain stable enough to be successful in school.
And how successful has that been?
That's a brand new project that we just started a year ago. The current phase of it is for 4 years. So we are just entering into year 2. So my team is still currently building its caseload. We have had a couple of young people get jobs and graduate from high school and start to entertain trade school or college. And so it's starting to show some success.
Coming up on Our Issues Twin Cities.
Because when you think you know everything, then you run into problems where people can't tell you nothing.
I sit down with a man who says Amicus helped turn his life around. Michael has spent the last 20 years in and out of prison. After being released 2 years ago, Michael joined Amicus. Can you tell me about life before this program, Amicus?
Before this program, I basically was getting high, drinking, and committing crimes. I'd probably do 1 to 5 felonies a day, and then whatever else, just to feed my habits. And I didn't really care about anybody but my habits. And then I got in a high-speed chase and hit a bridge at 90 miles an hour. Ended up in the hospital, and then I ended up back in prison. And I think God saved my life at that particular time. So I decided at that point that I needed to do something different with my life, that what I was doing wasn't working out.
How did you hear about Amicus?
When you're incarcerated at the correctional facilities in Minnesota, they offer it to you as part of the orientation. It's used for people that don't get visits or any kind of contact from the outside world. So I figured, since I decided I was going to do something different in my life, that maybe I should take advantage of the program, and I signed up for it. And then they came out and interviewed a bunch of us. And I think it was like a year and a half later before I actually started talking to a mentor.
Okay. How did they pair you with a mentor? What was that process like?
They ask you a bunch of different personal questions and things that you enjoy and your dislikes and stuff like that. And you pretty much, it's like, I think, a 45-minute to an hour and a half interview.
Okay.
And they have all these certain questions that they ask, and then they write down the answers. And then what they do after they do all that, they bring it back here. And then they start going through a process of what you answered and what you didn't. And then with the mentors who fit in that general atmosphere, I guess you'd say, and then you go from there. This program it's awesome. To have somebody from the community write you letters, come visit you, and then find out that for me it was eye-openers that I had a lot of things in common with my mentor. You know, I mean, a lot of things, and I always thought I didn't. That was one of my biggest problems. I always thought I was unique and I didn't have nothing in common with anybody else.
Take me through that journey with your mentor for the last 2 years. What was that really like for you from the beginning until today?
I remember the first time he came out, I was real nervous. I was sweating. I didn't know what to do. And then after talking to him for an hour, hour and a half, I learned a lot of stuff, and then I felt comfortable. I was fortunate my mentor were the same age, and so there was a lot of things that we had in common that, you know, going through high school, different sports, you know, just different stuff that people our age do. After that, he would write, and then about once a month he would come out. And then from there, we just kept visiting and stuff. And then I went to work release. And then when I had work release, he would come visit me at the halfway house.
Okay.
And we kept in contact. And he always told me if I had situations or problems, stuff I didn't understand, give him a call, and he'd help guide me through them. And then.
And would you?
Yeah, fully, because I understood that I didn't understand a lot of stuff. So I needed to reach out. Otherwise, if I didn't reach out and ask for help or do whatever was asked of me, I'd be probably incarcerated again. And you know, we'd go out to eat. Last year we went up to St. Joe's and we did interviews up there and stuff, and I did a lecture up there. It was really good. Me and Chris Day and my mentor Mike, we went up there, and it was a, I guess, an eye-opener and fulfilling. Because you do this stuff, and then sometimes when you're doing stuff, you think that it's going to go a certain way, and it doesn't. And and then after you're done, you get so much gratitude. You know, one of the things when I decided that I wasn't going to get drink or get high no more is do the AA program, have a sponsor, work the steps, and don't get high or drink. But there's so much more to that. You have to be a giver. You have to be able to go volunteer, go speak, whatever, you know, whatever there is. Because if you don't do that part of the program, you're not going to make it. You're going to fail. So them are some of the things I've learned through Amicus too. And you know, they also taught me that if you have a job, you work it. And you don't get better, you stay there until something comes better. I think that was probably the most valuable thing I learned, because
Through the program?
Yeah, I didn't understand that before.
What were some of the challenges that you met through the program throughout the last 2 years?
Coming here when I was at work release, like I was saying, getting permission from the DLC so I could come here for the 3 hours. There was times when I wanted to come here and I couldn't come here because of storms, the bus. What other challenges, I guess, was just basically getting permission to do stuff.
Yeah.
Because I was willing to do it. The other thing that was a challenge, when I went through the interview class, I thought I knew it. I thought I knew how to present an interview, how to shake hands, and I didn't have a clue. You know, so I had to learn all that stuff. And being able to be a learner now is easy. Back then it wasn't. Because when you think you know everything, then you run into problems where people can't tell you nothing. So there were some days where I came, but I didn't want to be here, and I would just, you know,
keep pushing yourself.
Yeah, do the smiles, do the stuff, you know, and just keep going through.
Up next on Our Issues Twin Cities, we take a closer look at the re-entry process of ex-prisoners and how Amicus helps them get back on their feet. Amicus works with thousands of ex-prisoners yearly in efforts to help with life after incarceration. Through Project Reboot, ex-prisoners learn how to get employed, stay employed, find housing, and how to manage finances. Project Reboot combines all these elements for ex-inmates through weekly classes.
Project Reboot is a 5-day workshop. It consists of mock interviews, getting them back into interviewing and talking about the disclosure, which is an arm that we usually use. It's acknowledge, remorse, and move forward, so it helps them describe what happened and where they're going with their lives. It's also The last day is Four Cornerstones Financial Literacy and RentWise. So they get tokens to come to and from the class, they get lunch. And when they graduate with 2 certificates, one in RentWise, one in employment. They also get a recommendation. Then they also get references, because usually people that tend to get out of prison don't have a lot of references that they can use. And they get a free 31-day bus card to help them either look for employment or get to employment. Over the last 10 months, we've made a lot of progress. I enjoy it because they come back and they share their stories. They come back and they use other programs that we have, like one-to-one, or they use the support group. So I really enjoy it. That's the hardest thing, is that they really find it hard to hold themselves accountable. So I kind of set up the workshop like employment. So our main concept is think like an employer. So I kind of have them put themselves in that mind frame, so that at all times they're accountable for their actions. They're making phone calls to let me know if they're going to be late, if they're not going to come, and they're holding each other accountable. Not everyone comes 100%. Some need more help with looking for employment, some need help with applications, some needs help, like I said, we have the support groups, so they just need help talking about it or getting over their past so that they can move forward. And some just want to give back. Usually we do a mock interview workshop on the 4th day. So me and Jason interview them, and he helps with employment. Or we have a partner with accessibility that helps. And we also do Reconnect, which we help them with our white folders, and I search for them.
One of the main drivers for Amicus is the volunteers. Studies show that inmates who have an ongoing positive one-to-one relationship with a community member are 40% less likely to offend again.
It's kind of a lengthy process, but it's deliberate in its nature. It's not first come, first serve. In other words, we don't take the first inmate that has an interest in the program and match them with the very first volunteer that's next in line. It wouldn't work. So there's an interview process both on the inmate's side and a volunteer's side. So an inmate would come to us and hear about our program either through staff at the correctional facility who's familiar with us, or I'm out in the prison quite a bit and they're meeting me and they're hearing about the program. They show an interest, I sit down and I interview them. I interview them at length. I want to get to know who this person is. On the community side, a volunteer comes through us, they hear about us through our website, they've met us at an event, they show an interest. Well, they fill out an application. We check a couple of references, a personal and a professional reference. There's a training that we put them through, and then an extensive interview as well. So I want to get to know the person in community. Then what I'm doing, I'm looking for things that stand out. I have John in community and I have Jim incarcerated. Maybe there's something in those interviews that jumped out at me that said, you know, they might hit it off. There might be a relationship there that works. So we look for things that we think might make them compatible.
My life is so much different than it was 2 years ago, or maybe 4 years ago. Rewarding is being able to come here like I am today, talking about my experiences, my struggles, my goals, my things that have excelled. I mean, this is if anybody really seriously wants to get out of that rut or stop being incarcerated, getting out, being incarcerated, you really need to do this program. Because these people here care about people, and they know what it's like to have nothing or no one, and they're gonna push you. They're gonna make you do stuff that you don't want to do. But in the end, it's very, very rewarding.
Do you feel like it helped you step back into the real world and reconnect with the community by joining this program?
Yeah, definitely. I didn't have a clue. I thought I had a clue. I didn't have no idea. You know, I was able, through this program, I was able to blossom into a way better person than I ever thought I would. I mean, I have people that know me my whole life, and they're like, "You've changed so much," and I'm like, "Really?" You know, I don't know sometimes. I'm like, "Really?" Or I'll ask them, "Well, just tell me about it," you know, because sometimes I just want to know. Because sometimes you do stuff in life, and you don't even know that you're doing what you're doing until somebody points it out. But they need to do the step when they're first incarcerated. They need to contact their caseworker or or anybody that can be helpful to send them on the path to Amicus, because it's not, if you don't ask, you ain't gonna get nowhere.
Do you feel like they changed your life?
Yeah, big time. I'm a happier guy. Before I would be working and I'd be like, oh man, this sucks. Maybe I should just quit. I'm being lazy. I don't like doing this anymore. I'm gonna go do this. Where Amicus taught me not to think like that anymore. They taught me to think that I am a good person and that I can do very good things, and at the same time help somebody.
We had one participant that actually went through the group. He got paired up with Jason. He found employment. He came back. He's actually helped with the group, so he volunteered his own personal time before actually finding that employment through Jason, and now he's working full time. He's doing great, and he just comes in sometimes just to say hi or share his story. A lot of times they need help finding those intangibles that they forget they have, and this class really helps them bring out their intangibles that they have. It helps them get ready for interviews. It's a refresher, so once they get out of prison, now they have this refresher to get them on the right foot. And this is what Amicus is all about. Amicus means friend. So we're their friend, guiding them back into the community.
If I only touch one person, regardless if it's in this interview or whatever I'm doing in my daily work,
Right.
I did my job. You know, I really did my job.
If you're interested in volunteering for Amicus, please go to amicususa.com/volunteer for more information. Thanks for joining me this week on Our Issues Twin Cities. I'm Brenda Kaman. See you next time.